Yeah, we said it. Tropical Storm Gabrielle has formed after a long tropical drought in the Atlantic. We're also monitoring two more tropical waves. One is off the African coastline, the other about to emerge. It appears as though the sleepy Atlantic may be awakening. Joining us now is Associate Scientist at the University of Miami, Dr. Andy Hazelton, to talk all things tropics. Andy, great to have you back with us on Fox Weather. Your University of Miami Hurricanes, they're undefeated. We've had so far a nice casual hurricane season, but now some activity. Behind schedule, we had talked a little bit about the lull. Satellite presentation with Gabrielle is a satellite picture only a mother could love, I think. What are your thoughts in the short term here?
Yeah, kind of what we expected, that this would be sloppy for several days, and it certainly is the case. Very elongated, kind of stretched out from north to south, and it's kind of that upper low and dry air that we talked about as sort of one of the factors that's inhibited this season a lot, and that's certainly the case with Gabrielle. But it looks like as it moves to the north and thankfully as it clears the Leeward Islands, it gets sort of just south of Bermuda, could start to be a little bit more favorable. And hopefully it'll avoid that island too and not bother anybody. Yeah,
it's hard to get a direct hit, but it's possible. So we'll have to watch that closely over the next several days. You said it though, we've had so many inhibiting factors, but all you need is a pocket, and it appears as though Gabrielle will have one. Aaron got one, and it maximized that earlier this season. What are your thoughts moving into the weekend? Because I know that there's been a big spread in the forecast models, but they're the average, even from the NHC, Cat 1, some solutions considerably stronger.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of uncertainty. I think it is probably going to eventually intensify, but there's a lot of uncertainty. The timing, could be Saturday morning, could be Sunday morning, Monday morning, and exactly how strong it gets is probably going to depend on how quickly it's able to get going and take advantage of the warmer water there. Our hurricane models kind of show different solutions. Some are faster to develop, some are weaker, but you can see there's that area of very warm water over the Southwest Atlantic near Bermuda. It's been there all year, and so certainly that'll provide some fuel if it's able to sort of fight off these hostile conditions and form a coherent system there.
So in the stock market, it's past performance doesn't guarantee future results. So the question, when you look at the outlook now from the NHC, which is considerably busier, I know it's been a low bar the last few weeks, there's a bunch of stuff going on between Gabrielle and these two additional tropical waves. Does that tell us anything about the basin overall, its state, as we move through the next few weeks?
Yeah, it could. I think some of this was expected as the MJO, a pulse of rising air, moves into the basin. We expected to see more thunderstorms, more convection, which you're seeing looking at the satellite there. There's a lot of thunderstorm activity, a lot of waves. None of them are very organized, very strong at this point, but if one of them, like you said, can find a pocket, Gabrielle probably will. And certainly these other ones, they're a long way out, but we'll have to watch them as they get further west and, maybe into the western part of the basin where upper level winds are a little bit more favorable.
Yeah, it's interesting. And we've been talking about this lull for obvious reasons, 19 days, which is actually just like last year. We took a big chunk of the MDR season off for some of the reasons that you were mentioning, but we still have that whole back part of the season to go when we're talking about Western Caribbean and we're talking about the Gulf, and the water is very deep, the water is very warm. Broadly speaking, toward the end of this month and into October, any indications of, I bring up last year being the same length of the lull because we know what the latter portion of last season looked like.
Yeah, and I think that just goes to show that you can have a very quiet peak and still get a backloaded season, still get a lot of impacts with Helene and Milton. And, it's still kind of too early to tell, but, these waves that are out there now, for example, they may not look like much, but if you can get one to sneak through into the Caribbean or the Bahamas or the Gulf, it can take off in a hurry and become a big problem. And so that's why you really can't let your guard down until the season's over. And, fingers crossed, we've had a pretty low impact year so far, thankfully, with, not a lot of activity. And even the one that did Aaron mostly missing to the east. So hopefully that continues. But, the season does look like it's waking up a little bit. And,
yeah.
Still got a ways to go.
Andy, before we let you go, can you put your finger on one thing? When we talk about seasonal forecasts, which this one was for an above-average season, there are always sub-seasonal things that can't be forecasted, that aren't represented. Last year, we talked so much about the atmospheric stability over the MDR, and it appears like this season it made a strong comeback. Is that one of the things about the season so far that jumps out most to you?
Yeah, definitely the stability and just the large-scale sinking air across the Atlantic and Africa has been a lot higher than normal. And so until recently, we really haven't even had a lot of thunderstorm activity, at least on average for this time of year. And several of the waves just have struggled to generate any convection. So now these waves are looking a little bit more active. Still a lot of dry air and shear to fight off, but looking a little bit more active as we sort of get into the back half of September here.
Yeah, a great tropical mind right here. It's always great to have a chat like this with you. That's the associate scientist at the University of Miami, Dr. Andy Hazelton. Thanks for being back with us on Fox Weather.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon.